All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the GGDA February 2022 meeting. Very sorry we're not doing this live. I do hope you are able to hear me all right out there in YouTube land. If I'm not coming in well, please let me know in the chat. Got microphone cranked up. So we'll assume it's working all right. We'll get the mic closer to our mouth. All right, we've got three great teams here tonight. Again, the Best in Georgia competition brings nominees from each of the Global Game Jam sites in Georgia. Those at the site judges their best game, best team, team most likely to get their game into distribution. We paired them with industry mentors from Hi-Res Studios, Games at Work, Pulseworks, and other studios, Fanaticus VR, to help them make a plan to get the game into distribution. At the end of a month, March 8th, our mentors will vote for the team that's done the best work and is most likely to best represent Georgia with a distributed game. And that company will win thousands of dollars worth of professional legal, business, and PR services. Thanks to Vicarious PR, Business Law Partners, and others for supporting this event. Oh, one of the groups that is supporting it is Indie Game Business. We have got a free membership to their next March 9th to 10th summit, the Indie Business Game Summit, a great opportunity to not only learn about the industry, but meet publishers. I really like their matchmaking service where they put developers in contact with the publishers. We have a 20% discount to that event for GGDA members. It's been in our most recent newsletter. And if you didn't get that newsletter, email me and I will make sure you get the information on how to attend that event. Other benefits. We got a number of other benefits going on these days, including a discount on the mental health app EQ. Yes, I think that mental health is as important for game devs as anyone else, even though we like being a little bit crazy in our own good ways, not the bad ways, and also, of course, insurance benefits and more. If you are a member and haven't seen those, please send me an email. We'll get you a list of those benefits you can enjoy. Tonight, we will be seeing three games. Spirit, which was a SCAD-Savannah nominee. Tread Lightly, the nominee from Kennesaw State University. And Schism from the Revit Online Game Jam. Congrats to all of you and to everybody who took part in the Global Game Jam. It is always a great opportunity. We love what comes out of it, and we really have enjoyed those games that have succeeded through the Best in Georgia competition. Congrats to Lightbreak for its recent Kickstarter. There's a good look for what the BIG teams can achieve. If you have questions for these teams, please ask them in chat. And if you are a GGA member, you can join them in the Discord voice channel to talk to them. And now, with no further ado, let's go ahead and get the teams who created the game Spirit, Diane Mesh Studios, to go ahead and share their screen. Let them to introduce themselves. I will shut up and disappear and let them take it away. They'll spirit us away. Sorry, I couldn't resist the Miyazaki reference. I really apologize to everyone for that one. All right. Team Spirit, go ahead and share screen. I don't believe Christian Wheeler is hearing me here, so if someone wants to... There we go. Perfect. Let me kill my camera. All yours.
We cannot hear you, Christian.
Phil should be talking right now.
Hello?
Hello? You just
Okay, great. So, we're Spirit. We are making a 3D puzzle platformer. We have I'm so sorry. We're having technical difficulties on the side. Our game is about the light and darkness within each of us, and it is both what makes us who we are and the the big theme of what we wanted to try and show you. You play as two spirits inhabiting the same space, one light, one dark, and you require both to succeed through our levels. Each spirit has their own unique ability, and you need to use a combination of both to go through the level. So in our level, we have a kind of dark fantasy style of game. As you can see, our kind of theming is taking inspiration from different Celtic scenery and different insignias. Our design is heavily influenced by different myths and that kind of dark, brooding fantasy. And our big thing that we're proud of is the ability to switch between characters at a moment's notice. Each character has their own ability. As you just saw, our wolf, the dark character, spirit, has the ability to push heavy objects around the world. This will be used in different puzzles to move different rocks out of place or portals into place, which the light spirit can use to traverse distances throughout the map. Keep going. They also have their own unique abilities after that. The light spirit can double jump, and the dark spirit can dash. I'm sorry. I didn't expect you to do that. So,
if needed,
we can
share as well.
basically. No, we're good with Christian. So basically, our game is a puzzle platformer with the use of being able to switch between characters. Our goal is to have, by the end of the month, a few more levels, other than just this one that we have, and add and really refine our swapping mechanic, because that's the core of our gameplay, and that's the thing we're most proud of, being able to swap on a dime to do different things such as that. You couldn't pass the jump before, but with clever use of the dash from the wolf and the double jump from the deer, you were able to traverse the distance. Our goal is to truly refine that so that we can add situations like a boss fight that requires you to push certain aspects of the boss's dungeon into place so that you can defeat it. Or even just another level. For example, we are concepting an idea of a sky level. We would like to maintain our theme, our functionality, and the core of our game to provide something at the end of this month that is really fun to play, something that you can pick up and just lose yourself in a very nice art style, and something fun that you can play over and over again. And now we will finish the demo.
If it's all right, I'd also like to load it up on my screen so I can share the audio, because the audio is not getting shared.
Yeah, that sounds fine. Go ahead and we'll switch to the streams.
Yeah, because I want to talk about that stuff too, because there's let's see. So if I go ahead and
While you're doing that, there's been a question. Is there a cost or cooldown on switching types?
no, I don't.
There is no cost or cooldown to switching types. You can do it as you please.
All right, so you guys should be hopefully seeing my screen now.
We've got
Are you
it.
guys getting that?
We are seeing your screen.
Awesome. So hopefully this one should be running a tiny bit better. I know our other one was being a bit laggy.
I'm not sure if we can hear the audio. At least I can't.
Yeah, I'm not hearing that through Discord either, so you might need to share either the screen or the app, depending on what you did.
I think it's the volume is down here. Let's try this. Come on. Is that better?
We're not hearing it either in Discord or in the stream.
Okay, let me fix that then. Give me a second.
We have another question in the chat. So there's a risk versus reward style mechanic.
Yes, that is one of the things we hope to introduce. During the game jam, we were unable to accurately have something like that. You kind of saw it at the end of the level. That's how the character died. If you do not move fast enough, there's a wall that catches you. What we hope to introduce are minor enemies that you have to use the different abilities to defeat. We're concepting a character, like an enemy type, where you can use the deer to teleport in between them, and it's split into two. It's kind of like a kind of kite kind of situation. The front one is leading the enemy in the back that can damage you, but the front one is always trying to get behind you. But with the deer, you can teleport behind the one that is going to actually hurt you and have them collide into each other, getting rid of the enemy itself. And it's that kind of like using our own mechanics to solve the problem instead of your typical, the wolf can slash and the deer is faster. We wanted to use our character's specific abilities to change the way you would typically play some sort of different action puzzle platformer.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, and so the reason why we reloaded this, so to talk a bit about the sound design, we actually, or I at least made over 30 sound effects, and a lot of them unfortunately didn't make it into this version. But for the final version, we plan to do full professional sound effects, voiceover, and sorry, apparently my thing is a bit loud. Our sound design is very, it's great. Our sound designer, Logan, who's talking right now, he did an excellent job, and we're all really proud of him. And we have a lot of ideas that we do want to add. We don't want to take up too much of your time, so we can answer questions now. And yeah, thank you so much for allowing us to show our game here.
Excellent. So let's talk about your development process. You're doing this game in Unreal, right?
Yes, we are.
The 4.0?
Yes.
Excellent. Where did your team have its strengths with Unreal? I guess you had worked with it before because you've done some good work with it in this demo. Yeah. And where did you feel you had some weaknesses?
Our weaknesses are definitely just experience. Our main programmer for Unreal, our main designer in Unreal, he couldn't join the call today. He's the one who did the big mechanic of switching between characters. Myself and Christian, the other Unreal Engine developer, we did a lot of the level blocking and setting up, and it was done well, but we do feel that we need more guidance in areas that we can improve other than just learning more of the code, because we can, you can find a YouTube video for how to learn how to move a heavy object with an item, but we want to gain more insight on better ways, more efficient ways, really, to use Unreal.
All right. Comment from chat. Jesse James Allen used to be audio designer with Electronic Arts, worked on Mass Effect and Madden and a bunch of the others. Says looks really cool. Looks very cool. So I hope you'll get us some comments on the sound parts of it as well, if we can get those playing through the stream better.
Yeah.
So your own team created the assets. Would love to see those assets again if you want to pop them back up.
Yes.
Were you also doing the animations for those, or did you get some pre-rigged?
We did. We
worked with our animators.
Yeah. We built our models, we rigged them, we animated them. One of our animators, Ken, is actually in the call right now. He's helping us stream, and he doesn't have a mic right now, so he can't say hi. But he is here with me. He's waving at the invisible camera right now. Yeah, sure. Yeah, just have it like that.
Let's talk
we're setting up
the environmental art, because the environments look very nice and stylized. What's the goal there? What kind of effect are you trying to get with the environments you're creating?
We're trying to really get a good
kind of like a duality of places. We want the dark, when you're playing as the dark character, to really feel like there's kind of an ominous, kind of foreboding sense. Like we want you to feel, oh, okay, I am somewhere where I'm not supposed to be right now. Whereas, and then, or not exactly what I was trying to say, I'm sorry. In contrast, when you switch to the light side, we want it to feel a lot more soft and I believe we wanted it to feel more kind of fantastical, right? We wanted you to really feel the difference between your typical fantasy, oh, everything's kind of bright and nice, and then your dark fantasy where everything's very overreaching and it almost feels like everything's going to try and like grab at you when you're not looking in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm one of the concept artists, and our main, like, we're going off of Celtic designs and art, like the Celtic knots and stuff, as well as, like, older and more rustic scenery. So, like, old, like, decaying benches and such. We also are looking at, like, pagodas and cairns and just, like, more naturalistic and rustic themes.
Yeah, very nice.
We're really.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say we're trying to really give like the sense of a more of a magical, mystical world, as we are having very like all of our entities are based off of spirits and such. We want a very glowing, misty world, but also still want to feel like a magical kind of forest that the player can maneuver around and explore. And in addition, as we improve with the narrative of our project, we also want to connect the gameplay and the world more, both mechanically and visually. Like some explorative ways, how the lightness or darkness of an area could change depending on which character you're playing as, to make exploration actually feel different between which realm you're playing in or which side you're playing as at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, oh, sorry.
There's also, so more or less in the two different worlds, there's like different types of magic. So the darker world has a red magic that you can see flowing through the crystals and the trees and the lighting. And then on the light world, there's a blue magic that you can see also in the characters. There's an emission on each of the characters that shows the glow of the magic. So if you look through the world, you can see the little hints of the magic in the rocks and the runes and the trees. So
Yeah, and all that sort of duality in this design played a huge part for the music, which I composed, and I'm going to be composing a full soundtrack for this. We were able to hear it briefly when I was streaming it. The music changes when you switch characters, and one of the things we actually hope to do is expand, obviously expand the number of songs in it and make it so that each level has a unique dynamic so that the music changes with the world, which I think is really cool.
All right, very nice. One of your competitors in the competition, Joel Weber, says, looks beautiful. I really dig the feel of it. Timothy Johnson asks, how are you switching worlds? Does that happen when you switch character types?
Yes, when you switch your character, the world actually changes. Our theming behind it is the worlds take up the same like space, like physically, but when you're switching character, you're switching the way you view your world currently, which allows different things to be interacted with. And
All right.
I hope that answers the question.
Great stuff. We'll give time for more questions as we get the whole team to introduce themselves again. Starting with Christian, just run on down through the Discord and introduce yourselves.
Christian's mic isn't working currently. He is our UI designer as well as currently the manager of our social media. Want me to?
And then level design as well.
And he's also helping with our level design as well in Unreal.
I'm Zachary Bowman. I am one of the assistant character designers and also an asset developer.
I'm Logan Zimmerman. I'm the composer and sound effects artist. I'm also going to be doing voiceover and 3D modeling. And yeah.
I'm Emily. I'm a concept artist, also doing texturing and the website.
This is Kim. I am the lead animator. That's kind of what I do, just mostly all the animations.
Yeah. I'm Phil. I am one of the lead programmers. I help with a little bit of modeling, and I also do some of our rigging. This is Zach. That's Christian. Yeah. Unfortunately, Emily and Logan aren't here physically with us, but yeah, hi.
Excellent. Okay, I think we got all the questions. We also have Sean Shepard in here, who's one of their industry mentors. And with that, we're going to do a quick transition, and then I will bring up Tread Lightly. All right. And if you are a Discord GGDA member, go ahead and join them in the Discord. All right, we are back with Tread Lightly. This game was nominated from Kennesaw State University. So, Team Tread Lightly, please introduce yourselves and take it away.
Yeah, so we're Team Tread Lightly. I'm Alberto. I did most of the character art, sound, and music. We've also got Chloe Baxter. They did the programming and AI. We've got Ian. They also did some programming for the mechanics and sound design and general debugging. We've also got Sam. They did the level design, the trailer, and some programming. And last but not least, we've also got Violet Turtle here. They did the background art. Crystal. And they did the background art and menu and UI programming. Without further ado, we can start showing off the game here. Our game is a 2D platformer. You play as Lanty the Lantern, and you use your light to keep platforms in existence while avoiding enemies that want to extinguish your flame. So the theme was duality, and we're using the duality of light for these platforms that are existing or not, whether or not your light is touching it. The goal is to reach the top of the lighthouse, which is at the end of this level, and that'll end the game. We've taken inspiration from challenging platformers such as Getting Over It and Jump King. So if I leave my light from the platform disappears. So most of the gameplay ends up being where you look ahead where you want to go, and you focus on the current platform you're standing on. And here we encounter our first enemy. The moth is attracted to your light, and if you shine the light on the moth, it'll start coming towards you, which will turn off your lantern. So you want to avoid shining your light in that direction. We've also got different kinds of platforms. Vertical platforms, horizontal platforms, and these permanent platforms that have a lantern of their own. And we've got another enemy right here. This frog that's trying to sleep and you're waking it up. So it gets angry and hits you with its tongue. You may have also noticed the dynamic soundtrack kicking in. That was really fun to add. The soundtrack changes as you get higher through the tower here. Sorry, what was that?
We don't hear anything, Alberto, from the screen.
Ah. The sound should be sharing.
I hear it just fine. Yeah. Andrew, do you want to check to see if you're streaming through your setup, yeah? I want to check to see if it's muted, yeah.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, I hear it now.
Are we good? Alright. So yeah, the dynamic soundtrack was really fun to add. It progressively builds on layers as you get higher through the tower here. And so now we can jump to this next platform. And now this section is the most challenging part in the game. You're faced with this pretty scary jump here. The only thing to save you is this moving platform. And now you've got this really annoying moth, and this platform that's blocking your lantern from showing above. So it's kind of hard to tell where you need to go. So this part requires timing, because you gotta go when the moth isn't there, and then also really fast coordination, because your light, you gotta show the light below the lantern here. And I already know where to go. If you stand to the left here, you can avoid that moth altogether. There's a moving platform to my right here. This will be the final section of the game. Of what we have so far, anyway. And then you just make it to this final platform, and you've made it to the end. So that's what's been accomplished for the Global Game Jam. We're excited to keep working on it and expand upon what we have already.
All right, excellent. A few comments in chat, probably the most important. The 2000 BMC says, go bongo. AppLove Studio asks, does the circular light that surrounds the player also activate platforms, or just the light beam?
It's only the light beam that activates the platforms. Something you may have noticed too during the gameplay is that the light won't activate things beyond the first thing that it's reaching, and we have plans for the future to change it so that it'll be activating things, which will allow for more dynamic level design with frogs especially.
All right, you sound like you already have put some thought into what your next steps will be. Why don't you go and talk about how you want to develop this game out?
Yeah, so we're kind of at a crossroads right now. There's some discussion of kind of what direction we want to take the game in. We like the mechanics that we have so far. We want to add more, of course, but we're kind of at a decision between sticking to doing a challenging vertical platformer, with mistakes being punishing and setting you back a good ways, versus kind of designing more puzzle-esque style levels for the player to beat that require, more creative use of mechanics.
So you did this in Unity, I believe.
That's correct.
What do you think your strengths are, and what do you think your weaknesses are?
Are you referring to us as individuals or the game?
You as a team. But if you want to talk about your individual weakness for chocolate, I'm not going to object. But let's go with your team weaknesses and strengths.
All right. I think that we have a really incredible artist/musician in the form of Alberto, who was just presenting the game. And the rest of us provide just a really pretty broad general knowledge of programming in Unity. I think that our weaknesses, perhaps level design. I think Sam did a great job with the time that we had, but all of us are pretty inexperienced when it comes to creating, really, I guess, fun but challenging levels that, feel fair but still difficult.
All right. Well, secret, don't tell anybody. We're planning to have a level design day in either March or April, bringing in one of the designers from Spider-Man and Ratchet and Clank and so forth. So don't tell anybody, though.
All right.
March or April.
Yeah, I won't tell anyone.
So your team is not all KSU students, correct?
That's correct. Alberto, who again was just presenting, he's not a KSU student, but the rest of us all are.
All right. Looking forward to that working out well. I actually think that having people from outside the school helps the team build interesting dynamics that can work positively for it. How did you enjoy working together at the Jam?
Does anybody else want to talk about that one? I'll talk about it. It went really well, actually. I think we worked really well as a team. Nobody was, insisting on having their own ideas put into the game. We all were able to work creatively well together and lift up good ideas, maybe put more unique, plausible ideas to the side for the time being. So, in terms of working as a team, it went really just about as well as it could have.
All right. Timothy Johnson asked, do you have plans on having items that are light phobic and disappear when you shine on it?
That's definitely a possibility. We're talking about a lot of different mechanics, like glow sticks that might, stay activated as an extra source of light after you charge them up by shining your light on them. Things that disappear in the light. New types of platforms, maybe mirrors that reflect your light. There's a lot of ideas being tossed around right now.
All right. Jesse James Allen says, nice job on Tread Lightly. I have a design question. Most of you live on the Marietta campus of KSU, right?
Yes.
So how much were the moths and the frogs an influence from the dorms there on campus? As well as the malfunctioning lights.
I've been lucky enough not to have any moths or frogs pop up in my dorm, but I can't speak for everybody on that one.
There are moths all over mine.
They're like a possum or a raccoon, though, now.
Oh, no.
Excellent, excellent. So you've already developed, and I should have done this with Spirit, you've already developed a Twitter account for people to follow. If any of you are in either of our Twitch or YouTube chats, please type it in there. But can you read it out here for our audience?
Yeah, the handle for the Twitter account is tread lightly. VG stands for video games, if you're uninformed. And, hang on.
Have you done anything beyond the Itch.io at this stage?
Not at this point.
All right, so if people are going to follow you right now, the itch.io and the Twitter are the best places for that?
Correct. We'll start posting updates as we start working towards getting these new features in there.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much, Tread Lightly. We're going to go ahead and transition and bring in Schism from the Revit Online Jam. One more big round of applause for Tread Lightly.
Woo!
Thank you for having us.
All right, this was from the Revit Online Game Jam, so different experience, and this is our only solo dev this time. So feel free to ask your questions. And Joel, show us the Schism.
All right, am I coming through? Awesome. So, hi everybody, I'm Joel, and I'm solo because I am old and with lots of responsibility, so I decided to try and get back into game development a little bit for fun over the weekend of the Game Jam. It's the first one I've done in ever. So, you know, a little background on this, I guess I started with the idea that I needed to do something very simple, very constrained, and I am not an artist. I am simply a programmer, and I've never aspired to be much of an artist because that takes way more time than I have or the skill. So a lot of what you'll see here are Unity asset store assets. So some of the pieces are fairly arbitrary. Excuse me. What I really wanted to do is explore a general concept that as I started working on it, I became a bit more excited about. So with the theme being duality, I decided that the duality of the map versus the territory, for any Borges fans in the audience might be familiar with the concept. So I'll run through the game a little bit, or such what there is of it so far. again, this is really just exploring the basic pieces and how they fit together and trying to get them working. And I'll kind of talk through the structures and mechanisms as I go, because that's the part that I think is most interesting so far. So you find yourself in this room. You know, it has some fairly arbitrary objects in it. You know, a nice little fireplace, door, some lamps, some stuff on a table. And if this were a bit better designed, you'd probably notice off the bat that this room and that model, I'll zoom in a bit, are the same. So if I were, there's that fireplace, for example, I noticed that the fireplace is movable. And if I pick it up and drop it over there, it goes over there. If I pick it up and drop it, you know, somewhere up here, it goes up there. So, I mean, that's really the core conceit, is this idea that there are models in the world that represent the world itself, and that you can manipulate them in various ways to work your way through the system, work your way through the puzzles, or whatever form it ultimately takes. And if you explore a little bit, you find some pieces, which I'm going to sit here and grab. In this case, I'm grabbing a couple of blocks. Can't really see them very well in my hands, but they're there. And I'll run back over here and see. So I got to traverse that hole here, and I'll drop some blocks in here, and lo and behold, there you go, the hole's starting to fill in. So I'll run over here, work my way up, and so many things missing, so if you notice, doors just kind of pop into place, lots of animations and really basic things that I don't have in place yet. So I made it to another room. Okay. It's kind of a similar situation. In this case, I can look up, wrong way. Look up and see there's another exit here. Got another model. As I go over here, you'll see that it doesn't seem to represent the room that I'm in. Spoiler alert, it represents the next room that I'm going to be going to. And you can get around and see the bits and pieces in here. And these puzzles are very, very simple because they're just exploring the basic concept. But the way things are structured, really all the pieces could be movable. They're just, I have them all set up to be rigid so that the path is pretty constrained. But everything you see here is, and you can tell it's fairly straightforward, fairly rectilinear in structure, is constructed with the models. So there's nothing you couldn't make dynamic if you wanted. So in this case, the puzzle, you'll see in a moment here, I'm going to go through it quickly so I don't spend a lot of time on it, but I assume that a regular person would have to explore a bit before making sense of it. But you can see here it's going to be hard to jump those stairs because I don't really have much of a jumping mechanism. So I'm going to drop a stairwell in place, and then way up here. Okay, I have something of a jumping mechanism in place, but that's only half baked. Okay, work my way up here, go through this door, and we will find our way into, eventually, this room. Okay, there's the stairwell I just put in place, or the stair chunk I just put in place. Now if I go up here, I'm going to skip some pieces here, but you can't see a lot. There's something missing here. There's something very, very dark. I don't think this is a great manifestation of the idea, but the broad idea is that you're playing with light to hide things, so you can't quite tell what you're doing. If I were to follow this all the way up to the top, there's another door up there, but it's actually locked. So in this case, I think I could probably do a much better job making it visible to people, but there's something I need to find here in this dark area. So what I'm going to do is jump my way out of here really quickly, speed things up a bit. Okay, and I can't quite see. Oh, hold on. Okay, there it goes. Can't quite see that spot in here. It's kind of hidden away, but I need to get some light in there. So what I'm going to do is pick up. Oh, it looks like I already picked it up. I have the light in my hand. In order to see there, I'm going to grab this stool, climb the stool, attempt to climb the stool. That's what I get for messing with the climbing mechanisms right before I go on live. Get in here, place myself a little pressure. which at present is the only real light mechanism that I've got that's dynamic. Work my way back up here. Wait, what's this? Oh, well, this isn't perfect, but there's a key down there you can't quite see. Again, this is all very last-minute puzzle design, such as, if it's not fair to call it design at all. Let's see, here we go. Okay, now I've got that mechanism here. I've got this light. Now I can see there's another model hiding in here, and if you look carefully, you can see that's the room I was just looking into with the key. I'm going to grab that piece, move it out, work my way down, cheat my way to make this faster. Okay, you can see the walls moved. I'm going to grab the key. It's gigantic right now so that it works with the mechanism that I have for doors. And work my way up to the top. And use the key to open the door. And there we go, the end. So, such as it is, that's what we have so far. Couple of comments on it. I think the again, there's a lot of sort of half-baked pieces at this point. What I would like to do with this is, I started off, again, it was just a quick sort of weekend hack. Let's see what I can get done quickly with some off-the-shelf parts. But as I got into it, I discovered there are really a lot of interesting puzzles I think you could do with this. That this demo does not do a great job elucidating, but excuse me, given the generality of that mechanism, the idea that you can create models in the world, you can have models that just drive and control the world. You can. They're very general in structure, so they're very simple. That's intentional, so that there aren't a lot of invalid states, right? Any pieces you can put together in a sane way produce a reasonably sane world. And if you imagine, for example, there are a lot more things we could do with light. There are a lot more things you could do with doors and mechanisms for controlling them. Any kind of portal. I think there's a lot of opportunities to play with water. Potentially enemies of some kind, even if they're. I'm not a huge fan of fighting games. I think I'm just too old for it, and I'm not very good at them. But I love games. Stealth games, things like Thief and so forth, where you spend a lot of time trying to plan your way through a world without actually causing a ruckus. So you can imagine ways that you have to kind of work your way through a world by controlling, by controlling the structure and finding the pieces you need to control the structure in such a way that you can get through more complex puzzles, get around enemies, generally avoid commotion. Probably a million more things I'm not thinking of right now. But my near-term goal is, and this is entirely a spare time project for me, but my near-term goal is to get it into a state where, excuse me, it will be a lot easier for people to add content and structure to play with without having to go hack around in the Unity editor. Right now, you can't quite do that, but it's not a huge leap to get to that point. And when you harken back to the old days of, going way back, games like Load Runner and things like that, where a lot of the fun of those games was actually creating your own content, was creating your own levels or structures. I'd like to capture a little bit of that. Maybe not as completely abstract and simplistic. I'd like there to be some story, some coherence to it. But I really like the idea that people can kind of create their own content with the pieces, with the general pieces that all kind of work together in a coherent way, so that that it's not rocket surgery to create a new level. It's actually just sort of fairly straightforward, and it can even be done in game depending on how you decide to approach that. And also that because it's a spare time project for me, it makes it a lot easier to bring outside people in to help flesh out the ideas, suggest structures and mechanisms that could be added to it, because they're actively creating their own, exploring their own ideas. That's for me, I think that's the way it's most likely to turn into something that more people can enjoy if it is something that a lot more people can contribute. So that's about it. That's what I've got right now.
All right, great. Look,
any questions or anything?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of good comments, more than questions. Timothy Johnson says, that's pretty cool. Logan Zimmerman, one of your competitors in the competition, when you're showing off the puzzle mechanics, says, I love that mechanic. Looks really fun and unique.
Appreciate that.
I commented that I love building levels in games. We're going to talk about UCG in a minute. Timothy Johnson recommended 2-player competitive mode where they trap each other. Imagine having to trap enemies and such. A super fun mechanic. So yeah, let's talk about UCG. And you can keep showing that stream. We don't have to show our mugs. If you want to put the stream back up, we can show it again.
Sure.
Let people continue to enjoy the environments you built. So yeah, so obviously I love UCG, Emperor of the Fading Sun. We still have mod communities dating back to the mid-90s operating. In fact, we're doing a new patch right now to make it even easier to mod. But how would you see people developing this? I mean, essentially, your whole game is about designing the levels on the fly, redesigning the levels within the game. So are you going to have an interface outside of Unity for people to make their levels? How do you see that working?
That's a really good question. I think the short answer is I actually don't know, but I'd like it to be as built in as possible. As it stands, what I'm working on right now is really it's more just an in-game mode. With the idea being that I'd still like there to be, or at least have the option of working towards something where the game does have a coherent narrative. I'm still toying around with ideas for that. I don't even know if it shares this visual theme. Again, those were just assets that I had lying around. But I'd like there to be some coherence to it. So if you look at something like, again, I know I'm dating myself, but like Lode Runner or something in that era, the puzzles were very abstract. Any fiction on it was a very thin facade at most. I'd like there to be more than that because I'm a huge fan of old school 90s role playing games. I've worked on more than a few of them, more than I'd care to admit. And I like that aspect, but if you take the sort of in-game level design structures to their limit, then it is actually sort of a level editor. So how do you balance that flexibility within the game without completely breaking the narrative? On the other hand, you want to allow people to create their own content. Then where do they do that? And in the game is the most obvious place to do it. So I'm thinking maybe kind of a modality or a modal structure where you can switch to an in-game mode that allows you to add new areas or what have you. Maybe link them into the existing world. Maybe create them from scratch. And at the very least, for the near term, it will certainly be front and center because there is no narrative, there is no content to speak of. So I'd like that to change, and the best way to make that change is to get other people involved. As far as the narrative goes, the first thing that jumps to mind, which I think could be kind of fun, is to dredge up a little of the feel of a bit of a roguelike, but upside down, like you're trying to work your way out rather than in. And maybe a little bit of a feel of a dungeon keeper or something like that. A little bit of that, for those who remember that game. A little bit of that kind of snarky, a little bit of Terry Pratchett sort of. You've stumbled your way into a dungeon that's sort of half constructed, and you're discovering the ephemera of all the arguments about how it should be built, and the models are kind of the magical detritus of its partial construction. At least that could be kind of a fun way to approach it without getting too serious. But we'll see. Open to ideas, though.
It's more than an illusionist then. Some more comments. Guy with a lot of cheese says, very cool. Good job, everyone. Timothy Johnson says, one of my razor statements of game design. If something is designable, then you're on the right track. And just in this chat, there's a lot of, it'd be cool if you could. Great job. Let's talk about puzzles really quickly, because you alluded to the fact you did work with some very good puzzle designers of classic computer game puzzles. What are the elements of a good puzzle for you?
Me, well, it's interesting. I've worked with some very good designers. I'm not one of them. So that's an important distinction I should call out up front. I think for me personally, what I enjoy and what I'm most adept at doing, I think, is, and I've alluded to it several times in this discussion, is the ability to work with a very general set of pieces that work together in a coherent way. It's almost, if you're familiar with the concept of like configuration space from physics, like there shouldn't be any invalid states, right? Or at least as few as possible, because that to me is what leads to serendipity in design. You put together pieces in novel ways, and things more or less just work. It may not be what you want, but at least they more or less are functional. You don't have to spend quite so much time up front thinking about what you want them to do, and then you're not as biased towards a particular outcome. Whereas if you have to really create the pieces, you have to go through a lot of manual labor to reify a design that's in your head. Then you're pretty wedded to that concept. By the time you get to the end of it, you're like, well, this puzzle kind of sucks, but we don't have time to create another one. Anybody who played Skyrim and the only puzzle in the entire game was spinning obelisks in some dungeon, right? Just about. I feel like that was one of those things where they probably wanted to do a lot more. I bet the cutting room floor is covered in great ideas that no one had time to implement. So on the other hand, if you can just throw pieces together and see what happens, then the emergent properties of a design are, you're much more likely to be surprised by them. And honestly, I think I'll give you one thing. This is a great answer, I think. At least it feels good to me right now. If the person who designed the puzzle can be surprised by the solutions, that is a good principle. For me personally, I don't like really highly constrained puzzles where there's one answer. I don't need them to be incredibly intellectually challenging, but I like them to be delightful and surprising. So if the designer didn't know that there was a solution to it, that's usually a good sign. This means you've got more of a systems puzzle and less of kind of a, highly constrained puzzle.
Less of a scripted puzzle. All right, great answer. All right, Joel, while we let people type in any last comments or questions, why don't you tell people how they can contact you if they want to create some Schism UCG, Schism CG?
So right now the best place is I created a little dead empty Discord channel with a couple people talking in it. There is I believe there's a link to the Game Jam site, which contains the itch.io link on it. I'm trying to do everything there, and on the Discord, on sort of the devlog on the itch.io link, and I actually have a Codex bug tracker set up as well. So because I will forget what I'm working on if I don't have some way to track it, which you can actually it's just public as well. But yeah, top in the Discord channel, throw out ideas. Ask me to do things so that you can play with them. That's totally fine. My hope, and like I said earlier, the only way I'm gonna make any progress on this, honestly, is to have other people kind of throwing out ideas and helping me kind of chip away at it.
Man, do we wish we had Discords for our fans back in the old days to have kept them involved.
We had modems.
Yeah. All right, Joel, great stuff. Thank you for the look at Schism. I have posted in YouTube the links to your Global Game Jam site and the itch.io devlog. So, all right. Thank you very much, and thanks everyone for watching. Join us again March 8th, when we will have a month of further work on all these games, and we can see how they've advanced and what their plans are for the future. So, subscribe to this channel, like this video, it shows up in the algorithm of the people who need to see it. And we look forward to seeing everyone next month. Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Schism. Thank you, Diane Mesh Studios for Spirit, and Tread Lightly. And we will see you all again March 8th.